All right, we're back with Congressman Jake Auchincloss. You're a Marine, so I want to get your take on Pete Hegseth as Secretary of Defense, even after, the revelation of kind of scandal after scandal, a bruising confirmation process. It does appear that he will make it through, probably along party lines.
Which is disappointing. There's three things that a Secretary of Defense has to do. They got to be a leader, they got to be a manager, and they got to be a diplomat, and he's unqualified to do any of those three things. He's got zero foreign policy experience, as Senator Duckworth made plain, doesn't even know anything about Indo-Pacific policy, for example. He has run two small veterans nonprofits into the ground as a manager. And then as a leader, he doesn't meet the officer and a gentleman standards that the Uniform Code of Military Justice holds its leaders to.
President Trump has not ruled out using military force to take control of the Panama Canal. You led a team of Marines in Panama back in 2014. What's your take on what's actually going on here?
Threatening to use force against a small ally is reckless and feckless.
It's not the only one. He also has basically threatened Denmark over Greenland.
The question I would have is, where did it come from?
Yeah.
So where it comes from is he's got concerns about the Panama Canal, which obviously is vitally important to the United States. It's how we transit a lot of our goods, both military and commercial, from west to east coast. And he's concerned that the Chinese have maritime operations at either end of the Panama Canal. Now, there are Hong Kong domiciled companies there. I have not seen evidence as a member of the Select Committee on China that they are abusing those positions. And actually, the United States Navy gets preferential treatment as it transits the Panama Canal. The president is right, though, that we should be upholding the Monroe Doctrine in the Western Hemisphere. We should not allow Chinese influence in the Western Hemisphere. They are very influential. Yes. Telecoms, natural resources.
And in South America, their influence is growing.
The answer to that is not to get tough on our small ally with 7 million people. The answer is to get tough on China. One, we should be doing more trade and investment deals in the Americas ourselves. We should be showing up in these capitals with our own package, just like the Chinese are. And two, we should go into the Chinese backyard in Southeast Asia, the area that Pete Hegseth knows nothing about from the hearings, and engage with them economically and diplomatically to be in the Chinese backyard.
We talked about this at the top of the show. Your district stretches all the way from Brookline to Fall River. As a Democrat, Trump won Fall River. You mentioned that. What does that say to you as a Democrat?
It says that we have to reorient ourselves towards the kitchen table. I think that voters felt like we took our eye off the ball. Now, I can talk about real wage growth since 2019 to 2024. I can talk about infrastructure investments. I can talk about a stronger and safer America globally. But at the end of the day, the voters spoke. And the voters in Fall River felt like between immigration and inflation, that Democrats had taken their eye off the ball.
Are we going to see another 4 years of pushback against this president from Democrats?
To the degree that he is undermining the rule of law, to the degree that he wants to undermine children's safety by appointing an anti-vaxxer to Health and Human Services, yeah, I'm going to fight him. If he wants to extend the affordable housing tax credits, if he wants to do shipbuilding again in this country to make us stronger, if he wants to take on the corporate healthcare middlemen, the pharmacy benefit managers who price gouge us on prescription drugs, I'll work with him. I'm not keyed into tribalism. I want performance, and in particular, I want performance that lowers costs.
All right. Our thanks once again to Congressman Jake Auchincloss. We appreciate you being here. The Sunday Roundtable is coming up next. Governor Maura Healey gives her State of the Commonwealth address. Will the changes she wants for the state's right to shelter law actually happen? Talk about that and much more coming up.